This is How I Sold Your Attention with Travis Chambers, a business growth podcast you actually want to listen to. Epic stories told in a dramatic, narrative format about hacking media, getting people's attention, and turning them into customers. Hear entrepreneurs' most inspiring and personal journeys in making the leap, finding life balance, and scaling it all. Episode 1. Put your head down, son. My whole life I was told, put your head down, son, work hard, and everything will work out in your favor. That was true, until it wasn't. This is the story of how I sold your attention. It started with my father. My dad grew up on a dairy farm in rural northern Utah. He woke up every morning of his life at 5 a.m., put suckers on cow teats, moved manure while the milk pumped, then went to school, and then back again every night. And then to the field to move pipe, bale hay, hoe sugar beets, rinse and repeat. He was born into hard work. His dad, my grandpa, is an incredible man, city mayor, sergeant in the Air Force, but he was not a materialistic man. He never made more than $35,000 in a given year, and he never cared to. But my dad was different. He had dreams, charisma, and an indestructible amount of grit born in those early mornings milking cows. He was student body president in college and got fast-tracked into the corporate ladder. Most weeks growing up, he flew out Monday morning and got back Friday afternoon, absolutely exhausted and miserable. He was a salesman for this booming corporation called Monsanto, more often referred to nowadays as Monsatan. Little did he realize this corporation would eventually be responsible for almost taking his life. My dad put his head down. He did everything asked of him, and he was promoted constantly. Top salesman every year. By his 50s, he was a vice president. He'd made it. He was making $250,000 a year. He passed his wisdom on to me. He put me into DECA Marketing Club in high school. I was good at it, scary good. I had his sales genetics, and I liked it. He'd beam with pride telling me stories of how he went face-to-face with the most ruthless buyers in the business, Home Depot, Walmart, Costco, how he was able to stare them down and make good deals. At an early age, I got to see the inner workings of a sales machine. He taught me to work, and I never got a free ride. At 12 years old, he put a picture of a dirt bike in front of me. "You want this?" he said. Of course I wanted it. "How bad do you want it, son?" He knew I wanted it more than anything. My bedroom wall was plastered with my heroes, Carey Hart, who did the first backflip on a motorcycle. If you want something, son, you've got to put your head down and work for it. My first job was scooping pig poop and pulling weeds on a local farm. I too learned grit at an early age, and he taught me that. By the time I finished college, which I paid for, I had 12 jobs under $15 an hour. The strategy he gave me for college was to knock it out quick with the least amount of debt and something that makes good money, and then start the corporate climb. I wasn't terribly smart with an ACT of 26. I just didn't have the IQ for respectable studies like engineering or medicine. My dad knew I was like him, good at hustling and persuasive, but maybe not the highest IQ. So I went into the dark world of public relations for my major. I wanted to do film and creative design, but according to him, those were unpredictable hippie studies. So I took the safe, sure route, and I graduated in 3.5 years. My side hustles in school landed me my first job in perhaps the most boring industry on earth as a marketing manager for data loggers that measure water level. I flexed my creative side on a side project and it blew up. The real meaning of MPH. My wife and I literally manufactured a viral video that got us an interview on Good Morning America, Tosh.0, True TV, you name it, we were everywhere. In 2 months, we made $40,000 from our comedic viral stunt. In the video we were driving, she was doing her dumb blonde impression, which is admittedly suspiciously convincing. I asked her, if you're going 80 miles per hour, how long does it take to go 80 miles? She spent 5 minutes struggling to answer with ludicrous and embarrassing scientific calculations. Half the world loved it, the other half hated it. And thus arguments and comment sections began and launched us into the national spotlight for a few weeks. We were walking to our Good Morning America interview on Times Square, our faces on half the big screens, when a guy points at us and yells, "That's the MPH couple!" The whole crowd stopped and applauded. That happened every 100 feet we walked in New York for the whole trip. I was 23 years old then, and the realization set in as I made more money in 3 than I had ever made in my whole life. I realized I could sell people's attention, and that millions of normal, everyday people could amplify something I made. That was the start of my adventure in the world of viral video advertising, but I was still determined to climb that corporate ladder. Then, the bad news hit. My dad had been diagnosed with Parkinson's, and in that next year, cancer, lymphoma. And that next year, divorce. Parkinson's, cancer, and divorce in 3 years. We later found out his cancer was directly caused by his exposure to Monsanto products. His doctor stated his Parkinson's set in earlier than it should have because of his stressful lifestyle, work hours, and travel. He was done. My mom got 2/3 of everything, the house, the cars, and the cash. Everything my dad had, his health, his wealth, gone in an instant. And I was headed down the exact same path. Tune into episode 2 to find out where I took my path on the road of selling your attention. Thanks for listening to How I Sold Your Attention. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast so you can be notified of episodes that come out every Tuesday and Thursday. And if you like this episode, please share. Also, you can check out our show notes at chamber.media on the podcast tab. You can help us out by reviewing the show. If you have any questions or ways we can improve, email me at travis@chamber.media.